the experience. In the past lesson, we saw how to ask yourself two basic questions in order to get the idea of what you're really doing in your business. And then we start with the designing of the buyer persona. The buyer persona is a detailed profile of the ideal customer or the regular customer that you think you're gonna be having. Okay, now you have the notion, you have one approach to the people that you're gonna be speaking to. It's time to be designing the experience that you're gonna offer along with the product. Okay, so let's get started. Now, in this lesson, I'm gonna change this word, buyer persona, for this other one, lead. They are the same. The difference is this one. A lead is someone who fits in your buyer persona criteria. Now, this is the profile, the buyer persona is the profile that you created as your ideal customer. Yup, that is the profile that you created as your ideal or more regular customer. Anyone that fits into this criteria is gonna be called now on a lead. Yup, anyone. I mean, if your buyer persona is someone, a girl from 20 to 24, and then you meet a girl named Judith who's 22 and Edith who's 23, and they have the same taste as your buyer persona criteria, those two girls now they are gonna be leads. Okay, a lead is just someone who fits in your criteria. It doesn't mean that they are interested in buying with you, they just meet the criteria that you have. Now, the first question, let's go back to the marketing funnel. Now is the time to start using it. Where is the lead in the marketing funnel, guys? It is here at the top of the funnel. In the top of the funnel, we're gonna call it Tofu because it's easier. In the Tofu, we have these two approaches or these two main goals to achieve: the awareness and the interest of the customer. We're gonna be working with these two. And basically, we want them, actually the leads, to know who we are, what do we sell, what do we really sell, I mean, which are the inner values that we have, and why or how can we help or satisfy them. That's the purpose of the Tofu. This is what we're gonna be working in these two stages, in the awareness and the interest. Who we are, what do we sell, what do we really sell, and why or how can we help or satisfy them. Okay, so let's move on. The Tofu purposes, the main goals that we're gonna be working, now we're speaking about goals, we're gonna be developing relationships with the leads. We want to have a good relationship with the lead. We're gonna be starting to discover some needs and desires of the customer. We're gonna identify how we can cover the need or desire, and we're gonna use this sales method. And don't worry about this one, we will have a special class for this one, but basically those are the main goals that we're gonna be working with. And now, as you can tell, they actually fit this 3-1 with what we want to achieve with the customer. By developing a good relationship with the lead and discovering the needs and desires of the customer, basically we covered the first 3 or 4 points. Actually, we covered the whole 4 points. Okay, so basically that's what we're gonna be doing. Sorry guys, We're gonna be developing good relationships, discovering the needs and desires of the customer, identifying how we can cover, and we're gonna start with the close method. Now, let's begin really with awareness. Is the first contact plan. Guys, we're gonna start with this notion. Every sales plan has to begin with the idea that the people doesn't know your business. Okay? We're gonna start from that point. They don't know who we are. That's why we want them to know who we are, what do we sell, okay? And we're gonna be working with these three aspects: the prospecting, the first impression management, and the lead proving. Okay? So, guys, now we're starting with our plan. Don't get lost. We want the customer to know who we are and what do we sell. Yes? We want to develop a good relationship with them, but especially we want to know what are their needs and desires so we can cover them and sell them something. That's basically what we're doing in this part. Okay? Let's begin with the prospecting, guys. Prospecting. Prospecting is going outside to look for the leads so you can have a database, so you can have your name be speaking of. Because again, we're starting from a point in which nobody knows us. Okay? So that's the first step, prospecting. Now, guys, before everything, we need to do something. Honestly, guys, I can create a buyer persona and it will happen, and it will happen a lot. And then you're gonna be yourself doing a cliche. And that's gonna happen. We're gonna be working with stereotypes, and we do not want that. We don't want to work with stereotypes. Okay? That is the risky part about the buyer persona. Because, I mean, we're not that into social studies like to define one people. That's really hard enough. Now, what do we want to do in this part? We want to be sure that the buyer persona will actually work. Otherwise, honestly, we will be lost. If the buyer persona is wrong, everything is gonna be wrong. Okay? Now, before everything, before prospecting, let's do this part. Understand properly your buyer persona. Read your buyer persona. Think as your buyer persona. Now, expose your buyer persona to two or more points of view so you can avoid cliches. Present your buyer persona to someone, to somebody. Tell them, what do you think about this? Is this a cliche or not? Now, in this part, this is something, these 2 points we're gonna be working as a homework. We're gonna be looking for studies relating the behavior of your persona. The generational studies, they actually help us a lot. Some examples that I put here is what is a baby boomer or how Generation Z is using social networks. Those kinds of studies, they help us a lot when we have no idea about how the buyer persona thinks. Imagine this. I mean, you're working or you're 20 years old, but you have to be working with a buyer persona of 65. It would be a good idea to go for some scientific or social approved studies that they actually guide you or point you the right direction in order to describe the behavior of your customer. Yep. Now, if in these points, in these 2 points, you notice that you have problems or opportunity areas, well, you will have to rebuild your buyer persona. Yep. That is something I highly recommend you. Don't be afraid of rebuilding the buyer persona, because remember, if this is wrong, the whole perception, the whole perspective of the sales plan will be wrong. Okay? So before everything, expose the buyer persona and look for scientific generational studies that they can actually help you to prove correct or prove wrong your buyer persona. Okay? So let's move. Now, let's go back to this. We have two types of outbound of contacts. I got lost in this one, sorry. We have two types of lead contact. The first one, I was actually reading this. Sorry. I started reading this instead of this part. We have two types of lead contact: the outbound contact and the inbound contacts. Okay, in the outbounds, I mean any lead that you speak to. The inbound, they speak to you. That is the main difference, guys. The outbound is when you're speaking to the customer. The inbound is when the customer is speaking to you. Yes? And why is this important? Because it makes a lot of difference. It changes everything. When you're gonna be speaking to the customer, you will be facing probably someone that doesn't care about your product. Okay? But when somebody is speaking to you, they have probably some kind of interest in what you're selling. So, the first thing that we have to be aware of with the leads, we're gonna be having two types of contact: the outbounds and the inbounds. Okay, these ones, they are the hardest ones because you're speaking to someone that doesn't know you and that you have no idea if they are really interested in you. Let's move on. Now, a little bit back. I highlighted this one, channel, and here I highlighted the same channel. Why? Guys, both the outbounds and the inbound contacts, they're gonna be having place in some specific channel, depending on the approach that you want to give to your sales plan. Okay? Now, it's time to set the channels. And basically, guys, we have these types. The first one is indoors. Every contact inside the store facilities. Indoor channels. Okay? Inside the store facilities. Venue selling. A contact done in any event performed outside the facilities of the store. Moving markets, kiosk, expositions, fairs, I don't know, you tell me. That is a venue selling. Okay? And then we have online and social selling. Guys, you're gonna be having some specific subjects in fourth quarter about social and online selling with the digital marketing classes, okay? I just wanted to introduce you to this one because they are part of the sales plan. In the online, we have web page and e-commerce, kind of AliExpress and Amazon type of, or adidas.com, something like that. That is the online. And the social selling, guys, it's gonna be when you look for the leads into the social networks: WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And I was about to name another one, but I'm not pretty sure of naming it because it doesn't have a good reputation. Basically, guys, in this one, the social selling is understanding where the customer is gonna be at some point in their cell phones. Okay, that is the social selling, and that is an important one into a sales plan. Okay, this is the third channel, and now we have this one, the one-on-one selling, and this is probably the worst slide I have ever done. Why? It involves a lot of explanation. One-on-one selling involves direct interaction between two or more people. It doesn't matter if it is inside or outside the facilities, okay? It doesn't matter. Usually, this type of selling is seen more often into transactions involving large amounts of money, like houses or cars. Also, and this is not specified because otherwise the slide will be just awful, the one on one selling is really common to see when you have brand to brand selling. I mean, when one company is selling to another company, or when one company is selling to one administration. Let's understand administration as a government. Okay, this type of selling is more specialized because it involves more money. It involves more responsibility both from the seller and from the buyer. Okay? And now, the other scenario in which we're going to be using one on one selling is when the product is extremely weak to speak by itself. We have some cases in here like Herbalife and Royal Prestige. Honestly, if you put like a can of Herbalife, it will not sell by itself because they are not even properly packaged. I mean, if you see one protein from Herbalife and then you see another one from GNC or something like that, not even the colors, not even the labels, they are like just awful, okay? So when the product is really weak to speak by itself, you need a one-on-one presentation because you really need to speak for the product. You need to convince the people that even though the product has not a good reputation, has not a good presentation or something, even though they need them. That is the one-on-one selling. One variable of the one-on-one selling is the door-to-door one and the in-house selling. The door-to-door, I mean, is basically when one representative of the company goes to the houses to offer the products, like a bond. Yeah, it's like a bond actually. They have the door-to-door selling, okay? And the other one, in-house selling. The in-house selling is when you create this big conference between, I don't know, 10, 20 people, and then you try to sell them the same product. Royal Prestige does this a lot. So this is the one-on-one selling. Remember, the one-on-one selling is more used or more likely to be seen when the purchase involves more money, like cars, houses, I don't know, condominiums. When it is between one company and another one, or when it is between one company and a government. And the other one, the other scenario in which you're gonna be using the one-on-one selling is when the product is extremely weak to speak by itself. Okay? And now, guys, back to prospecting. Back to prospecting. The step number one. The step number one. And this is what we're gonna be working with. According to your buyer persona, according to your business, you're gonna have to establish the channels in which you're gonna be having a contact with the leads. Why according to the business and why according to the customer? Honestly, if your business is not big enough to have like a proper place in Paseo Durango, to have a proper establishment anywhere in the city, and you're just selling by Instagram, you have to be aware of this. You won't have like an indoor contact, okay? And in the other part, if the customer is not using Instagram, but you need to sell them, there is no need for you to be on Instagram, okay? In this point, guys, I need you to take a look at the business. What do we have? Do we have a physical store? Do we have a web page? Do we have an Instagram account? Do we have a Facebook account? What do we have? Okay? And now I need you to compare what we have with the customer. Does the customer likes to go to the malls? Yes. Okay, so we have a physical account, a physical store, and we have a customer that likes going to the malls. Okay, perfect match. We have an Instagram account, but we don't have a customer that uses Instagram. So that is not a match. We have to eliminate that part. Probably this customer likes to use Facebook. Oh, we have a Facebook account. Okay, we have another perfect match in here. So guys, in this part, I need you to make a list of the characteristics and things that you have as a company, or that the business that you're gonna be working with have as a company. Do they have an online store? Yes or not? Do they have an Instagram account? Yes or not? Do they have a physical account here in Durango? Yes or not? Okay? Then I need you to compare what the company has with what the customer does. What do they do? Where do they go? Okay? So you can establish the channels in which you're gonna be having a contact. Okay, guys, so basically, that is the first step of the sales plan that we're gonna be creating through the whole quarter. Any question, anything you would like to know on deeper, please let me know. Okay? Thank you so much and have a nice day.